Hey everybody, welcome to If I'm Being Honest, straight talk about book publishing and promotion. My name is Joel Pitney, and today I am thrilled to have Alexa Bigwarfe. Welcome, Alexa.
Hello, thanks so much for having me.
So Alexa is a publishing consultant and a community builder. She's the founder of Write, Publish, Sell, and also the Women in Publishing Summit, and a writer yourself. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, those are all my books.
So many books. I love it.
So many copies of the same several books, but yes.
Very cool. And Alexa and I actually met in line at the Independent Book Publishers Association conference in Denver a couple of years ago. We were in line for getting our free drink that came with conference admission.
Yes, yes.
And we kind of struck up a conversation.
Exactly. I do love wine and conversing. They go well together. It's been a fun ride since then.
Nice. So I think the thing that Alexa and I bonded over immediately is that we both spent a lot of time in the world of self-published writers, people who are indie publishing, self-publishing, whatever you want to call it, trying to either start a second career as a writer or a fulfilling side hustle, trying to make their dreams of being a writer or publishing a book come true. And we both do a lot of work to help people make those dreams come true, right? Whether
Absolutely.
that, Alexa focuses a lot on helping people build a business, an actual business out of their publishing and their writing. And her Women in Publishing Summit, which my company and myself and Sadie Walker, who's the other host of this podcast, have appeared on as guests. They're all about educating people and empowering people. And so we bonded over that.
Yes, we did.
And
I
so
wasn't sure if that was a question or just a pause.
I don't know. I don't know either. I'm kind of like finding my
If I'm
way.
being honest, you know. It's like-
So I wanted to talk to you today, Alexa. I thought, I wanted to kind of focus on, you know, uh, in your role, working with all these people, what do you find for people is the I guess the best first piece of advice that you end up giving people when
Oh,
someone
wow.
comes to you or shows up on when you're what it yeah.
Way to just like hit it off with like the Powerball question. No, I mean, I think anybody who's in this business would agree that the first thing we have to know when talking to authors or publishing professionals is what you're trying to achieve, because nothing else can be built off of that if you don't know why you're doing what you're doing or where you're trying to go. And you may not know exactly specifically, like on, February 17th, 2027, I'm going to publish a book that's going to sell 3.2 million copies and yeah, but you know why you're coming to do this. It's a long, hard road to be an author. So there's got to be something that's guiding you for it. It's okay if that answer is just because I've always dreamed of writing this book, or
Right.
because I want to have a bigger impact in the world, or because I'm literally trying to conquer the entire universe with my writing. Whatever it is, you have to have some kind of idea so that you can set up everything else to help you get there, you know?
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. And there's so many different reasons why people do this. Do you find when you're working with people that, because uh, oftentimes people will be like, well, I don't really know why.
Mm.
Do you find that everyone does have a why sort of under there once you unpack it a little bit and get in
I
there?
do. In fact, I've never found anyone who hasn't been able to. Now, okay, some people aren't able to specifically say what their goal is financially, right? They don't really know how to figure that piece of it out. But
Right.
almost everybody knows. For me, when I started writing, it was healing. It was purely to heal. I'd suffered a
To heal
horrible
yourself.
tragedy.
Yeah.
Yes. And I literally was writing to heal and then put together a resource book for other people who were suffering in the same way and created that book and resource for them. For some people, it's purely entertaining. I mean, how many of us were bookworms as kids? And like, I often share the story of how I would save up my allowance. And when those weekly readers came home, that's what I spent all my money on. And like, I've always just wanted to read, just wanted wanted to have those books. For some people, they're launching a business and or they need some credibility builder for speaking events or for their clients or for their businesses. For some people, they want to share their grandma's favorite recipes or they have a knowledge piece that they want to educate children on. Or most people that I have come across have some reason why they're writing, either because it's a joy, a dream, a fulfillment of something that they want to do, or because they're trying to have a bigger impact on the world, in some way, shape, or form. And
Mm.
so then the next piece of that is okay, now we know that part of it. So how do you want to get there? What kind of roadmap? Do you want to do all the work by yourself? Do you want to hire people to help you? Do you want to try to have an agent and pitch to, a bigger publication? What's your budget? What's your like how let's realistically frame how you're going to get there so that you don't wind up, a big puddle of tears in the corner because you had no idea that it would cost $10,000 to write, publish, and sell a really good book. You
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
So all those things.
Well, no, that's really cool, and what I'm hearing from you is something I've encountered a lot, which is that there's no right way to do this, right? And
No.
everybody's goal is different, and you're going to go out there online, and there's going to be all kinds of articles and courses and companies that are going to tell you that this is the way to do it, this is the way to do it. Come sign up for our tried and true approach. But what you have to remember is that not everybody has the same goal.
Yeah.
And if your goal differs, then your strategy is going to be different. Everything from how you write to how you publish, right? I mean,
Yeah. And I'd be very wary of anyone who tries to tell you that this is the only way to have success or to do it well, because I've worked with tons of different people across all spectrums, and the only right way is the one that gets a good, professionally edited, professionally designed, well-written book into the marketplace. That's the only right way.
hmm that's interesting. So,
Well, wouldn't you
we,
agree? I mean,
of
like,
course I do. Yeah, no, no, I'm sorry. I agree. I agree 100%. Um, yeah, you want to you want to put the best product forward, and you definitely want to beware of anybody who's offering the perfect silver bullet solution, because it just doesn't
exactly.
exist. Everybody's different. Everybody's goal's different. I think one question that I'm curious about, and this is where the if I'm being honest theme starts to come in, which I know you love, as do I, obviously, is what do you what right now? Because I kind of feel like you're on the pulse. You're really on the pulse. You talk to so many
Try to be.
people. What are you hearing right now? What do you think is one of the biggest and most confusing pieces that people are confronting?
So I think we're finally starting to shift out of this idea that paying professionals is icky. Because for a long time, that was the big battle. Oh no, you shouldn't have to pay a cent to have your book published. And so for a long time, that's where I was spending my efforts trying to correct people. I'm like, come on, how silly is that? Even Stephen King pays an agent, pays an editor, like, or like, I don't know if he pays the editor, but somebody pays the editor, right? The traditional publisher goes through all of these things. So why on earth would you think that first time writer with no experience just going to write this incredible book that Simon and Schuster is going to want to publish tomorrow? Like it just doesn't happen that way. So
Right.
I think we finally moved past this idea that only traditionally published authors are winning in the space, and that you shouldn't ever work with people. Then we came in or pay people to help you along in the process. Then we came into the whole hybrid discussion. This is still pretty murky waters because,
hmm
as you and I have discussed, there is no standard. There is a standard, but whether or not it's not regulated, right? So people can choose to follow the standard or not. And basically, anyone can call themselves a hybrid press and they can deliver a variety of different things. So that's still a big question that people have. And this confusion between vanity presses and hybrid versus boutique publishers and self-publishing assist. So there's still a lot of, with good reason, questions around that because that seems to be the gray area where people get scammed the most. So
True.
that's still a big place where we're navigating through. But now the big thing that's out there is people are just getting bombarded by AI generated messages, DMs, emails, phone calls about how they stumbled across their book and they just think it's amazing and they want to promote it and they're going to take them to the next, amazing thing. And the
Yeah.
question I must get 5 times a day through email, social media, or our community is, how do I know if this is real? Is this real? Should I trust these people? Should I call back? And the answer is no, it's never real. It's always a scam because the people who are really doing a good job don't have time to track you down. And also, if your book's only sold 2 copies, it's probably, yeah, right. Okay. So boiling all of that together, Joel, I think the real answer is it's knowledge. It's
Mm,
knowledge and education and knowing how to make the best choices. And how do you know what's real and what's not real? How do you know who's going to be a good partner and who's going to take your money and run? And those fears are still very prevalent across the board.
mm,
And that's why conferences, communities,
mm.
podcasts, all of these types of
The
things are
Women
so
in
important.
Publishing Summit.
Amen.
Hmm.
We accept men too.
I've learned this. I've learned this.
Yes.
No,
So,
that's awesome. And um, I this is why, I mean, I think you and I have talked about this just in our passing conversations in lines at conferences and other things. But there's something about the book publishing industry. It reminds you a little bit of the tiny amount of experience I had dabbling with kind of TV, film, Hollywood stuff.
yeah.
There's a lot of inflated expectations, and
Yes.
there's a whole cottage industry of companies and professionals who prey on inflated expectations. So if you're getting, for example, like the AI queries that you're talking about, people, I hear them too.
Yeah.
People have been, they're made to feel as if they were special.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
made to feel as if someone reached out to them and said, your movie, your book would make a great movie. If you pay me $5,000, I'm gonna turn it into a Hollywood treatment and pitch it to my close contacts in the film industry, right? Or even that conversation you talked about with hybrids. There's a lot of the hybrid publishers who will
Mhm.
make it sound as if what they're going to offer you is much more like a traditional publisher would than is actually true. And so, the best, like you said, the best medicine against inflated expectations is knowledge
Yeah.
and a
And just
healthy dose of skepticism.
and a healthy dose of skepticism, but also just recognizing that even the what we learned through the whole court trial and all the things that were happening a couple years ago with the when I can't remember who was trying to merge and acquire who, but we went through that whole thing. What we learned through those processes and trials and testimonies, that's the word I'm looking for, is that even the people at the top of the biggest book companies can't tell you necessarily what's going to be a hit and what's going to be a flop. So
Nope.
anybody who guarantees you that your book is going to be the number one anything, that I would always be wary of that. Now, there's a lot of ways to help people publish those books and market them and guarantee that they will be some level of success, sure, because there are good best practices and ways to promote and market that can get it out there. But I mean, my favorite example is recently, every year with the Women in Publishing Summit, we take our workbook and we turn it into a nice workbook that people can actually just buy off of Amazon because it's over 100 pages and people don't want to blow through their entire print supply on this. So it's an option for people. We don't make the price crazy or anything. It's just a resource for them. Well, this year when we published our book, because it's gets a lot of traction because we have a number of people in our community, it immediately shot to the top of writing resource books and women in business books, right? I started getting message after message on voicemails. Hey, this is so and so from so and so place, and we are just so thrilled with how your book is performing. And we think the Women in Publishing Summit book can just be top of the top of the top. And I'm like, okay, if there was any better proof Because who outside of attendees to our conference is going to want to buy this book
Right.
that's taking notes from the presentations in the conference, right? So I think it's a perfect example of how people are just out there. They're not even taking the time to read the description of the book. They're just seeing books that are out there on Amazon. I think some of them that are doing well, and also probably books that aren't doing so well, and just going after those authors to try and make some money off of them.
Yep. Yep. That's right. So like you said, knowledge, 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 knowledge. Join communities of other writers so that you can vet things. You can say,
Yes.
hey, does this sound fishy?
Right.
Do your research, look at the company, go and find out what are the other have they other published other books? Does it seem like they have if it smells fishy, it probably is, right? It's just, and in my experience, you can usually, your spidey sensors are usually on as long as you don't let your inflated expectations drown out your spidey senses. So,
I agree. You know, I will say there are caveats to that though, right? Because I wound up taking down one of my two of my books actually, my Ditch the Fear books off of Amazon because I give them away for free to my entire community. So I have this Ditch the Fear and Just Market It book out there, and it had like 4 reviews on Amazon. It's a book marketing book that had 4 reviews on it. And I was like, this is embarrassing. You know, if anybody Googles me and is like, okay, she's a book marketing expert and has 4 reviews on her book marketing, but I am truly a legit book marketing expert. I just don't sell that book to my audience. So I was like, okay, we got to take this offline. Of course, the downside of publishing on Amazon is that it never goes away. It's
right,
always, once published, it's always there, even if it's not available. So, you know, I would say that when you're doing your research, also recognize every company has a bad day and they're going to have some bad reviews. Every company is going to have some bad reviews
right,
at some
of
point in
course,
time.
right,
And just because a book doesn't have a ton of reviews on Amazon does not necessarily mean that that book's not selling, because there's also or being reviewed or read or used by people, because there's also a lot of people that sell most of their books at events or are doing other things. So again, the knowledge, you have to know what, asking people that will definitely get you a really good return. Asking people if they've ever heard of a service, used a service, worked with a company, what their experience was like, and all those kinds of things. So it can never, there's so much gray. It's never black or white. The truth is somewhere in the middle, as if I'm just going to keep throwing cliches in there, you know.
cliches are great. I love cliches.
I love a good cliche too.
So, before I move into the next question, I just want to remind everybody, if you're enjoying this conversation with Alexa and you enjoy, if I'm being honest, to please subscribe and follow us on whatever channel you're tuning in from. Also, you can rate and review or share this with friends. My mission with this show is similar to what Alexa's doing with the Women in Publishing Summit and all her ventures. We're trying to inform people and give them information so that they can make better choices. And you liking and following us helps with that.
Absolutely,
Um,
it does. We need reviews on podcasts just as much as authors need reviews on books, and I think people forget that.
Even if it's a bad, even if you want to give me a bad review, if you want to say, he he
Just
he
review
rambles
me.
on and he doesn't let the guests answer questions correctly. I want to hear it. My next question for you, Alexa, would be, you were talking about this. You've had a lot of success with book marketing on your own books and also helping other people. And again, this is kind of an on the pulse question. What are you finding right now is working? And I know there's no one size fits all solution. I know there's no perfect thing, but what are some of the things that you're finding right now are working for you and your authors?
Connection with readers. Like
Okay.
people love connecting on a variety of different ways. So um either generating that real connection through a social media platform or through your email list. And those aren't new tactics. Those are consistent, tried and true. Like people want it, but we're really curious about people right now. Very curious about authentic connections and all those kinds of things. But honestly, Joel, nothing beats just a really good book that people love and want to talk about. Word
Yeah.
of mouth marketing is hands down like how, and that comes from getting in front of readers. And so I think a thing that authors don't want to do is they don't want to give away their book for free, and they don't want to spend the time finding the people that have built audiences and have a community of people that love their books. But it is so worth the investment. I don't want people to think about giving away their book for free. I want people to think about the benefit that comes from having people who love books read that book and review it. Because when you're a newer author, you don't have that credibility. When you're a self-published author, you don't have the credibility of the big name publisher behind you. You don't have any of those things. All you have is your work. And so get it into the hands of people that will talk about it, that will bring their followers along with them for that ride. But you have to make sure that it's a book that people love and want to talk about. That's one piece of it. And the second piece is having a backlist. Like, one book is not enough unless you're nonfiction and this business book and it's the staple of your business, blah, blah, blah. There's all kinds of caveats. But for anybody trying to make a living as a writer, one book is not enough. And so I've actually changed my marketing philosophy a bit over time. I
Ooh,
used to want to, yeah, if I'm being honest, like, this is the thing. Like, don't you love how I continue dropping in the name of your podcast
I,
into our
I love it. I mean, is it the most clickbaity title? I have no idea, but I sure like it.
But it's so true. Transparency is so important in our industry as well. But I think it's also important to realize that if you are in business and you're in marketing, which we all are, if we're trying to sell a book, which is a product, you have to recognize that things change and shift and trends change. And we don't want to be trend chasers, but we do have to know what's working and what's not working, and recognize if we're trying to implement a system that's not producing results, we have to understand why and we have to tweak it until it does work. And so back in the day, I used to think that it was every author should spend, a year building their platform and doing all the things and building this huge ARC team. And that is true for authors who are going to have a one and done, or it's going to be years before their next book comes out, or, that's, yeah, one and done says it. I don't need to repeat that again, but
Totally.
that's true for those types of authors. If you want to have a successful launch where you sell a lot of books, you have to spend the time building that audience. But for everybody else who's planning, who wants to be a fiction writer and wants to create a living as a writer, I'm more and more on board with the right books one, two, and three. At least get almost done with three before you, I wouldn't necessarily say before you publish one of them, but if you can write so that when you are publishing those, you publish fairly quickly your series, so that, and put all your big marketing efforts into the third, fourth, or fifth book. Then when you're pushing that book, they
Yeah.
come back and they find one, two, three, four, and that's the way that you start making more money as a writer and an
Mm.
author. And it is a volume thing. It is
Yep.
totally a volume thing when it comes to being it earning a living as a writer. But then we have to go all the way back to where this conversation started and say, is that what you're trying to do? Because
Right.
if you just want to write a really good novel that you're proud of, spend your time writing a really good novel that you're proud of. Take the time to build a base and to promote it and to get people to talk about it and advance readers and reviewers and all those types of things. You have to do it because I guarantee you this will happen. And I know this from 12 years of working with authors. At launch day, if you didn't do the work and you're not prepared and you don't see sales, you're going to be sad no matter what you told yourself. No
Hmm.
matter no matter
Yeah.
what you told yourself, if you said, I'm only publishing this because I want to, and blah, 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 you're going to be sad that you didn't sell more than five books.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true.
I just went on a really big,
No,
like,
that's good. No, but
tornado
I like
circle
it.
with
And you
you.
talked about a lot of things. And one thing I wanted to kind of pick up on and tell a little story about is that point about, you know, all you can do all the things you're saying. You can write the multiple books, you can connect directly with the readers, but please make sure that you don't skip over having a really great book.
Yes.
And
Yes.
what I love about that is that that's something that you can do. that's in your hands. And in a way that some of those other things are a little bit not, right? I mean, it's
Right.
connecting with readers and writing. Some of the marketing stuff can feel everybody can do it, but it takes time,
Right.
right? And it's a little out of your control, even though you can still grow in it. But writing that book, that's yours. That's your baby. That's you get to do that. And you don't want to cut those corners.
But you have to also let go of the personal connection.
Mm,
And my next book marketing book is actually called "It's Not About You," because
ooh.
it's not. It's not about you. It's
Mm,
about the reader, and you have to be willing to let go of those intense like connections to your words, to all those types of things, and listen to the experts and take the feedback that your beta readers and that your developmental editor and that your editor and all those people, they're experts and they're trained and they know they're not, there's no skin in the game for being mean to you, right? It's all
mhm.
about trying to make the book as good as possible. And I've seen that with a few authors. They've been so connected to their words or taken any kind of feedback so personally that has stopped them from taking a good story and making it a great book. And that's a shame. I interviewed JD Barker, who I don't know if you know his name or not. He is a thriller horror writer and he co-authors with James Patterson. And we were having this conversation about this topic, like whether is volume more important than quality. And he said he took a very long time writing his first book because you only get one first impression. So there's kind of two fields of thought out there. There's the people who are like, you're going to get better as a writer, just put out your first book and then, get better as a writer and keep going. Yeah, that works if you're a high volume writer, but it doesn't necessarily work if you're trying to get out the gate right away with a good book that's going to build a stable
Mhm.
career for you. And his thought process was, I'm going to put all my eggs in the basket of making this such a good book as it goes out, that there won't be anybody giving it a negative review because it should have been proofread one more time or whatever. And he was right, and that led to a collaboration with Stephen King. So, I mean, take it if you want to be an author as a profession, take it seriously.
Yeah.
You would not try to be a nurse without going to nursing school. I
Yes.
hope. I really hope.
No, I agree. I was recently talking to someone I met at a conference, who has a book and really exciting, and the book sounded really interesting, and that, it seemed like the kind of thing that if done correctly, could gain some serious traction. And they came to me and they were talking about all kinds of publishing options, and they needed help with editing and publishing and then also marketing. And we kind of had some conversations and I threw some things together, and they decided that they wanted to not, skip over all the editing. They decided, you know what? I'm going
The
to save
audible
money on that.
gasp.
Yeah,
That was
I'm
a
going to save.
clutch your pearls
I
moment.
know. He said, I'm going to save money by not doing the editing. It's pretty good. It's fine. Even though I had taken a look and I like to be honest, I said, yeah, you're right. It's clean, but it definitely needs an edit. Every book needs an edit. And then also, wanted to hire one of these discount companies to do like a McDonald's version of their publishing. No offense to McDonald's if you're a McDonald's fan, but really cheap, cutting corners, probably, $50 cover design, that kind of thing, right? And then came to me and said, "Yeah, but I would love for you to market this book. Can you market this book?" And I remember, and the conversation went cold. I said, "Look, I can't market something if you're not willing to invest in the product." And
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
I just don't even I didn't even feel comfortable doing it because it just was so it just felt like I would be taking somebody's money to do something that I perceived to be more or less impossible.
Yeah, I just want to say that I don't say these things based on some elitist, like I'm better than you kind of. It's based out of my own experience. I am
Yeah,
here to tell you, I have taken the shortcuts, and part of it was because of budget. For real, I
sure.
understand. I totally understand what it's like to be in that position. When I self-published my first book, I had three small children at home. We'd gone from two incomes to one income, but I still paid for an editor in 2012 or 13, whenever it was, end of 2012. I figured out how to do a Kickstarter back then. Like it wasn't a Kickstarter. Indiegogo or some kind of crowdfunding thing, and I raised just enough money to pay for editing. And it was not the best edit because I only had $1,200. So, but like we moved through really fast. The cover design was a hot mess. It was bad, and I wound up having to go back and redo all of those things. And so when we're talking about like advice on the things, slow down, and figure out how we can all find some money. And here's the part that's going to have your audience booing me. If you can't find the money, then this might not be the right route for you right
Hmm.
now.
Yep.
But there are inexpensive ways to do it too. It just takes longer. Join a writing critique group and get that feedback. Work with really good beta readers and just take some. There's free classes on writing craft and all those kinds of things. You can do it to help yourself get there, but you have to be willing to invest the money again if you're trying to make a living as an author. So I see
Right.
lots of people all the time like, my book's not selling. What can I do? Well, have you done this, this, and this? And you'll get this whole laundry list of excuses, or it's like, your cover looks like, not good. I don't say the thoughts that I'm actually happening, but now I've learned how to. I'm a Gen X Sagittarius, so let me tell you, sometimes it's really hard for me to be.
I'm also a Gen X Sagittarius.
You
Imagine that.
are not. When's your birthday?
December 19th.
I thought you were going to say December 9th, and I was going to be like, shut up, because I'm December 9th. Yay. Awesome. So, anyway, I've learned how to say it nicely, and that is, now I'm like, can you just go spend some time looking at other covers that are on books in your genre that are doing really well and tell me what you like about those and how it compares to your book and try to get them to see what I'm talking about. Because if you just come out and you say, oh my gosh, that looks like a 5-year-old did your cover,
Yeah.
doesn't always go over very well.
Yeah.
But those types of you can do these things, you can learn how to do them, but you've got to, if you want to make a living as an author, you have to put out a good product. And think about it. Like if you went on to Amazon and you wanted to buy a new, I don't know, what's something I've bought recently, a new shirt, okay? And all the reviews were, it said it was this size, but it's way bigger than that, or it's too small, or the color's not accurate in the picture, or the description didn't have anything to do with what the book was. That's what happens when a person goes to buy your book on Amazon and they get something that doesn't live up to it. Like,
Yep.
the cover looked like it was a thriller, and I wound up reading a, sweet romance. This doesn't make sense. What's happening,
Right. Yeah, no, you really can't, we call it, you can't steal first base, right?
No,
That's
no.
the first thing you got to do. And the good news is that it's, it's under your control. But like you said, that isn't for everybody. I
Right.
think that Sadie and I even did a little video on this at one point because we realized it was important to help people understand this right up front. You either have to approach it like a business,
Hmm.
right? If you're gonna get started on this, if you want to maybe not make a living, but at least have it be a side hustle that doesn't cost you money, right? In the long
Yep.
run, you got to treat it like a business, and that takes a tremendous amount of time and effort, and investment, and all that kind of stuff. If you don't want to do that, and a lot of people don't, that's okay. But then you
Yes.
then it becomes a hobby, and you just have to decide how much you're
Yes.
going to spend on your hobby. And I meet people all the time who decide that they don't want to spend a lot on their hobby and they're fine just to have the book out there. They don't need it to be super fancy or anything. They just want it to be done and they're willing to, and they don't need to pay that much money, right? And there's some people who have some extra money to spend on something. And even though they don't want to turn it into a huge success, they do want it to be beautiful and something they're proud of. And that, it might sell a few hundred copies, that kind of thing. And so they're willing to invest the money. But you kind of have to think about it one or the other, right? And then that's going to help you figure out what kind of investment strategy you might have.
And here's one thing that a lot of people forget all about. There are so many small and medium-sized traditional publishing companies that don't require an agent, that you can submit directly to
It's true.
those folks. And so if you truly don't have a budget for all the things or don't want to do your own self-publishing budget, go out and start looking for those smaller publishers, and you can find them on different, I mean, all over the place. There's lots of ways, publisher marketplace, all kinds of stuff. But that is an option. But the thing is, it better be polished. So you're still going to have to pay for editing because guess what? They get a bajillion submissions. So
Mm.
if your first page doesn't hook them, these aren't just gimmicky tactics that agents talk about in the webinars. It is the truth. Like you have to have something that grabs them and is clean, because if it's not, you get that one page, and if that one page doesn't impress them, it goes in the slush pile. It goes in the I'll never look at this again pile.
Mm.
So, I mean, there are options, and again, we circle it all back to the knowledge base. Like you have to be aware of the options and know what you're trying to do. And then, of course, if you want to be the hobbyist, that's fantastic. I that one, this one, 4 Days in Paris, my first novel. I wrote not because I really ever was intending on selling a whole bunch of books. I wrote it during COVID. I wrote it when I was going through a divorce, and I really wanted a happily ever after. So I went back to a point in my life that was super happy, and I was just and I wrote a story about it. And then I started a series because I loved doing it so much. But I did it the right way, even though I wasn't trying. It's got a fantastic cover. It's formatted professionally. It's been edited and edited and edited, and we still have mistakes in it that you find. That does happen too. Um,
Yeah.
but even as just a hobby, I still wanted it to be as professional as possible because I'm an expert in this industry. Like, I can't not do that and then be like, oh, this is what you got to do. But, I don't know. I guess that's enough of my soapbox. At the end of the day, though,
Soapboxes are good. This is a soapbox show.
but books
We
are
we want we want the unfiltered truth based on personal
absolutely.
experience.
Books are so important though. They are such a critical part of everything, of education, of I mean, of knowledge of all the things, like whether it's a no matter what the genre, no matter what the reason for writing the book, like they're really important. And what I want to make sure is that people know how to choose the best path and to make the best choices in getting whatever it is they want from writing and publishing that book.
Mm.
So, you know, that's at the end of the day, that's what it's about for me. So that's why I get so passionate about it, because
Yeah.
I know that writing saved my life twice in two different periods, so it's very personal to me. My imprint is literally named after my daughter who passed away. So it's very personal to me. So,
Mm-hmm. Well, so I think, thank you, Alexa. This has been a wonderful conversation, as I
yeah.
expected it would be. And I think the last thing I'd like to ask you is just to talk a little bit more about the Women in Publishing Summit, what it is, who it's for, what people get out of it, why you did it. I'd just love to, for people who don't know, to learn more about it.
Well, thank you. So we are going into our 10th year. We just had our ninth annual Women in Publishing Summit. It's always in March in Women's History Month. And just a tiny bit of background on why I started it back in 2017 was because I was attending a lot of virtual conferences for writers, and I wasn't seeing a lot of women being represented in the panels or the individual presentations there. And if there was a woman, she was white. And I was like, this is really unfortunate because I'm working with all these very diverse women all the time who are doing these amazing things. And I eventually decided to create a platform for bringing forth women's and marginalized voices so that we can celebrate and honor the achievements that are happening in that, and at the same time learn from each other and build networks. So collaboration has always been an important focus for me, but over the years I realized it wasn't. In the beginning it started more as a teaching for authors, and what we've evolved to in time is a community for authors and publishing professionals because when we all come together into the same mixing bowl, that's when the magic happens. That's when you get the knowledge because you can ask multiple people, do you know about this type? What have you heard about this? You're not getting just one person's specific answer or guidelines. We introduce our community to companies that we know, like, trust, like your company, like Launch My Book, and bring in people and have the opportunity for them to have just conversations about what their company does, who they do it for. So there's a lot of value in networking and learning from each other, in being able to support each other. But that's really what it is. This is not an easy route. Like, just writing a book is hard, but then trying to figure out how to publish it and how to market it, how to grow a business in the publishing industry, it's all very hard, isolating things. So the more that we can do to not have people isolated, the better. So we're just talking through our intentions for our 10-year anniversary. And I think what we're going to do is have bring back all of our favorite presenters from the last 9, 10 years. Bring back, hopefully, we're going to invite some of the bigger power names that have been part of it from the last time, and have a how I made it kind of
Mm.
theme
Ooh,
so
I
that,
like that.
yeah, so that people can really see, like, now you see this person as, selling all these books and on all these TV, commercials, not commercials, I don't even know, all these podcasts, all these whatever, but how they got there so that people understand that it's never an overnight success. There's a lot that goes into it. And then being able to pair off with other people and work on building those relationships and collaborations. So that's
I
what it
love that.
is.
That's super cool. I love that.
And we have more than just the annual event. We have monthly webinars. We have now we have WIP Society, which is a membership program that has every week. We have multiple activities so that you can hop in Zoom and have live interactions with people, get questions answered and support, and really focused around helping people build a product that is very professional when they're writing those books or when they're growing their publishing. So, editors, graphic designers, you're all welcome, publishers and all of that, and really creating that year round, day round, because you don't just go to a conference and then, well, you do. A lot of times you go to a conference and you get a lot of information and then you have to figure out how to make it happen. And that's what we're really trying to do, is create that environment where it's not just download of tons of information and then leave and see you next year. How can we keep working throughout the year? There's free events, there's paid events. We just had an in-person conference, which was a freaking blast. Loved every minute of it. There's a podcast. There's all kinds of ways on all kinds of budgets to learn. And of course, you should always check out our sponsors page, because our companies that we have curated specifically because of the good work that they do in the industry, all have discounts um, and things for our attendees as well, our
Amazing.
community.
So yeah, so I encourage everybody. I can vouch for everything that Alexa just said. Everybody go check out the Women in Publishing Summit. It's free to sign up, right? I mean, you can just, isn't
It's
it?
free to sign up for, like, the webinars and
Right.
to get on our newsletter and all that kind of stuff. And I must say thank you so much to Joel and to Launch My Book, because you guys have been 2 years in a row sponsors, and we appreciate the sponsorship. Really does help us
Hmm.
keep prices low so that people can save their money for all those key things that they need to be doing, like editing and working with professionals, and continue with the free events that we do all year round. So thank you very much for your support through that.
Of course, of course. We love it. We love it. Thanks for having us. So yeah, thanks again for a great conversation. Again, this has been If I'm Being Honest, and this is Alexa Bigwarfe, and thanks for taking the time today.
Thank you. This was great.